Good afternoon. It's Monday the 4th, 2013. I was just sitting here thinking after looking over some of my videos that I've uploaded that might interest you. For instance, or might help you out when looking for a place, especially in floodlands and low bottom lands. If you'll look at your timber when you're out in the bottoms like that, and look at the timber where the water's been up on, see how high the water gets when it's dry and somebody's trying to sell you something like that. You'll find that there's a water line that runs along the trees, however high that water gets. Then there'll be some trees down along creek bottom, especially if it's a flood zone, there's going to be a creek there. Look at and see how high the water comes up, and see if there's any high ground there that the water don't get over, so that you can have a homestead there. Because if you buy a bottom place and the water's all over it, you may have to build a boat or stilts to live there. You know what I'm saying? So you want to look good when buying in bottom land, because a few years ago, me and my father come down southeast Oklahoma here at Poto. We had some cattle. I think we had 60 head and a bull at that time, and I was looking for pasture land to rent or buy, and they took us out here to Bazille Creek, it's called, and we got to looking at it. Now, me and Dad's country boys. We grew up in the river bottoms. We know what to look for. We know every creature, every sound of the woods, everything. I mean, you're not going to con us old boys. We went out there and looked at the timber, and they was down in that bottom there about 15 feet up water along a tree line. Well, the tree line was dead, and this is like in August. Top part's still green in color, but all the lower limbs up to 15 feet around the creek bottom along the edge was completely dead. I mean, you could just look at where the water had stained the tree line on there, even on some of the leaves and the wood and the stuff. Just look at it, and it'll show you how high the water gets. And if it gets 15 feet or 10 feet or even 5 foot up, you could flood your home. So you don't want to buy that kind of land for the purpose of putting a house in. Now, you can buy it for farmland. You can buy it, you know, for campouts and stuff like that in the summer. But when that water's up, if you ain't got no high ground, all it's good for is fishing then. You know, and not even good for that when it's flooding, because it'll be so muddy the fish will have plenty of worms worse loose to eat. They won't care about your hook. But anyway, needless to say, I'm just giving you a tip here about when buying bottom land, what things you can look for. Look at the cows and horses that are out there in that bottom. If them horses has got mud and water up to their neck or across their legs where they've been standing in mud and water and the hair coming off of them, or cows, you do not want that land. Not for cattle ranching or putting your horses on, not unless you got some high ground to drive them to whenever the rain comes in, when the floods come in. Now, you can use that pasture during the summers when there ain't no flood on, but keep in mind you got to have somewhere else to put your stock when that's up. Needless to say, Paul and I didn't buy it, and they asked a ridiculous price for the darn land, and Daddy told him to stick it in his eye. There wasn't no way he was that dumb to buy that flood control land down there for the price that man wanted, better than $1,000 an acre for bottom land like that. Not with water coming over the top of you. The only thing it'd be good for is maybe farming, and about 1 out of every 7 years you get a good crop that it don't drown plumb out. The erosion is good though when it comes in from the riverbeds. That Bazille Creek run off the Poto River, so it got definitely high, the water did, in that hole. And it was just, probably 2 or 3 miles south of here, or north of here, rather, on Bazille Creek. It was right up near, right out of Panama, or Shady Point area. It was where it was, it's Bazille Creek. But that was the reason we didn't buy it. We wasn't dumb. We could see the doggone how high the floodland went, and it just wasn't worth what they were asking. I believe he asked us $1,000 an acre, and Daddy just laughed at him, went and got in the car, and we left. Why, it wasn't worth that much to us. I don't know what good it would have been if your land's underwater, unless you're a seaman or a fisherman or something of that nature. Okay, with that being said, I just wanted to show you a few things to look for when buying land. Remember, look at your timber line and see how faded or you'll see mud and water up on where the mud's been left up on the trees and dead leaves at the bottom of those trees, how often and how deep that water gets. Even in dry weather, you can look at that and tell that, hey, you're getting a pig in the poke, you better haul hay, unless you want it for some other reason. Now, if you want it for maybe water usage of some type for irrigation, you have high ground, or you want to use that bottom land for hunting and fishing, that's about all it's good for when the water's down, and that'd be probably down in the summer after the spring rains are over, down here anyway. If you have to take your elements, everything in consideration, everything has a purpose, but it wasn't doing us no good for our cows. We wanted some grass, yeah, but we wanted some water on it too, but not that much, not water over the top of us. We wanted some place to be in the dry too, so your cattle can have some grazing land. Shoot, the old grass was dead. Wasn't nothing there. Alright, with that being said, I just wanted to give you a few tips on buying bottom land. Now, mountain land, I don't know much about it. I just know I like it. It's prettier. You can't farm it, no. Well, in some cases you can, some cases you can't, depending on where it's at. But it's a rocky, like my sister, she lives in Neosho, Missouri up there, and the ground's so rocky. To make a garden there, you got to haul in topsoil to get a garden there. Here we got that old red sandy ground here. It needs some topsoil hauled in here. I put some on my garden every year. And when I get started on my garden series, I'll take you with me and I'll show you how I prepare my ground and work it up and stuff. And I'm planning to drill a water well, and if I get water, I'll be able to irrigate it. I should jump on getting the water well stuff set up first, but I'm trying to find a way to get a 4-inch water hole in the ground without having to hire somebody to drill it, because it can cost me $2,000 to $3,000. The poor boy don't have that when he don't draw that much a month to be able to pay for that. So I gotta figure. I've been watching YouTube and looking at their hand working tools. Not physically able or fit to be doing the hand work, but I've got the time and I can work it slow, and I figure I'll be all right. So I'm just going to take my time. I'll get me a mud pump maybe, and if it's not too high, rent one or buy one. Probably at Lowe's, just go ahead and pick me up one, and when I'm done with it, I'll clean it all up, take it back to them, and tell them it wasn't worth a darn or something, so I can get out of having to pay for it if I don't need it. But poor boys have poor ways, is what I'm saying. And if not, I'll just have to pay for it, you know, if they don't let you out of it, if I don't need it. But I'm thinking a mud pump would be good anyway, to have around for pumping water and stuff. A 2-inch mud pump, just a small one's all you really need. You don't have to have a 4-inch. A 2-inch will kick enough water to do this. I believe it will. Unless somebody knows, you know, that's done it, got more experience, can correct me on that if I'm wrong. But I think a 2-inch mud pump would do the job on washing a well. It's called washing a well. What you do, they tell me, you get a 2-inch pipe to go down inside a 4-inch. You take the 4-inch and work it down as deep as you can, probably for the pilot hole for the water to come up when you're washing out your well. Now, it's going to have a T on it, you know, where the mud and water comes up the back up. It'll come in through the top of your 4-inch, and then it's supposed to wash back up all your settlings to that T and wash it over into your mud trough that you'll have to build. I'll need a mud trough, and that's not really too hard to build. The screen, I'll probably use screen wire over sometime. I got several old grates out here, even some refrigerator type screens, and then tie some screen wire over it, and that should let the water go through and keep the mud trapped on the other side, is what I'm thinking. That's what I have to work with. Some things. I was going to try to dig it 15 foot with one of them old jacks that you spin until it's full and lift it out there, and you add pipe to it. You know, you can change out the pipe, put your coupling on there, and move your T up and keep working it until you get that dug out. But you can only go 10 or 12 feet. But with this method I seen the other day, say you may be able to go 35, 40 feet, and that would get you down in some good water probably.